Hello everyone, my name is Salim and welcome to the mini markets breakdown analysis. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me clearly and then we can go ahead. Okay, so so I hope everyone had a good Christmas. I hope everyone's ready again for the new year, for 2024. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna be breaking down the chart on GBPJPY and then we go ahead with XAUUSD. So since we have a new monthly candle, what we're going to do is we're going to quickly review how the past few months have been playing out and then we will go ahead. So the first thing we can see here is, which is really interesting, is the monthly candle for December. The monthly candle, so what we can see here is we've had 4 monthly candles printing side by side. Clearly you can see the body of the monthly candles are much smaller than the wicks. And we can clearly see price have been ranging within this level. So we're talking between 182 and 184, roughly 182.50, 184.500 roughly. So, and then what we can see is the November monthly candle managed to break and close out of this monthly range. And then the next thing we can see is the December monthly candle failed to fill this wick, failed to continue bullish. Instead, it basically, we've seen sells price breaking below this recent monthly support and closing bearish, forming monthly resistance around 186.950. Now this is really interesting because if the monthly candle for December managed to close, let's say monthly candle closed below this monthly support, now the question is this just a pullback to potentially see a monthly support to be formed to continue bullish, to retest this monthly resistance and continue bullish? Or are we going to see, are we going to start to see some sort of a retracement on a high time frame? Because if this is a monthly resistance that has formed, we need to identify some sort of a confirmation to determine this is not for price to continue bullish. This is just the monthly candle forming a top wick before breaking down the low, and then eventually filling this rejection wick on the left and potentially retest this monthly resistance formed on the November 2022. So the only way you can determine this is basically dropping down to the weekly time frame, and then we can see how the weekly candles playing out. So when we dropping down to the weekly time frame, the weekly candle has been extremely bullish. Now this is really interesting because what we did see here is we've had 3 weekly candles. We have potentially 2 weekly candles forming rejection to the upside and managing to close below this weekly support. But then I wouldn't really count on this one because obviously we've had low volume. But then this weekly candle, it's pushing bullish and it's retesting a weekly rejection. Now obviously we have one more daily candle to go, which is a Friday, and the question is this weekly candle going to close bullish above this previous weekly support, or are we going to see another rejection on the weekly candle, meaning the daily candle for Friday will be closing bearish or weak bearish, or weak bullish, I mean. So now to break down the chart, and the first thing we can see is we have 2 daily candles being extremely bullish, breaking above the recent daily resistance and tapping into a strong daily resistance formed back on the 12th of December and on the 20th of December 2023. And now we're dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see here is we have the most recent 4-hour support all the way down to 181.250 to 215, let's say 181.210, and the most recent 4-hour resistance formed around 183.700. Now clearly we can see we've had some strong bullish momentum during the Thursday daily candle, and then when dropping down to the hourly time frame, now we can clearly see where price starting to range. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down the daily, and we're going to identify a no trade zone so we can allow price some sort of a range to consolidate during the Asian session. So then we can have a good potential setup for the London session. And obviously if there was no movements happening in the London session, then we might see something happening at the pre-New York or the New York Open. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust it from the 4-hour time frame all the way down to the 15-minute time frame. We can clearly see this is a big range, and this can't be as a no trade zone. That's roughly around 260 pips. So this is a big range. So dropping down to the hourly time frame, and what we can see here is we can clearly see we have multiple hourly candles closing small body candles, and we can clearly see we have a decent hourly support formed around 183.050. We have a same level of resistance on the hourly as the 4-hour time frame. Dropping down to the 30-minute time frame, now we can clearly see we have a same level of support, a same level of resistance. Looking at the 15-minute time frame, we do have a 15-minute support at this level, but in that case we could actually ignore this 15-minute support at this level, because we have a 30-minute, an hourly, so we have an hourly and a 30-minute support around 183.050. Looking at the 15-minute time frame on this level as well. So now to identify the no trade zone, and let's say Potentially what we could do is look for potential buys above 183.710, above this hourly resistance. Potential sells could be below 183.050. If you do have any questions regarding to the way I'm breaking down the chart, then just please don't forget to just mention it on the chart, and I'll be happy to discuss that further. So this is going to be the no trade zone. And yes, we do have this as an hourly support, but this is not really a valid level to see for potential sales, because you can clearly see we have some sort of rejections on the hourly time frame, and this is a really tight range. So we don't know where the price going to. Let's say if you were looking for potential sells below 183.360, you don't know where the price is going to reject this area, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hourly candles rejecting the downside, and then again we have this previous 1 hour resistance. So ideally is to allow enough range for price to consolidate. Also, you have to put into consideration the daily candle has been extremely bullish. So when you have those strong bullish momentum on a high time frame, on the lower time frame, it might look like it's a big range as a no trade zone, which is roughly, we're talking, let's have a look. So that is roughly around 65 pip range. But you can't really ignore the fact that we've had a strong daily candle pushing 260 pip range above this level. So yes, so this is going to be the no trade zone. And now to look for potential buys. Now here's the thing. So for buys, the only issue we have here is we have an hourly we have a daily resistance formed back on the 12th of December and the 20th of December, and we have within these two daily resistances that was formed back in December, previous to that we've had a bullish candle closing bullish, forming a rejection to the upside, and then formed the resistance and then pull back. And what do we see again on the 19th of December? A candle closing bullish, failing to close above this daily resistance, leaving a rejection to the upside, and in the following daily candle formed a resistance and retraced again. Now the issue is, are we going to see another rejection to the upside? Now one of the reasons to why we can see that rejections happening here is because of these two daily rejections on the left, and we have this daily consolidation formed previously back in November, beginning of November, let's say. So now going back to the monthly, and let's see if we can identify anything. So the first thing we can see is obviously we have a monthly resistance formed around 186.950. Now obviously that's a big range, but we can pay attention to this previous monthly resistance formed back on that was in September 2023, around 184.340. And then when dropping down to the weekly time frame, now this is where it becomes really interesting. So see how we have identified this monthly resistance and how these two weekly candles rejected, obviously back to when these weekly candles have been forming, they've rejected this monthly resistance. So now we have some sort of a target that we can potentially have as a target for, let's say, for potential buys. So now dropping down to the daily time frame, again on a daily, that's where we have these two daily rejections, and we have this previous daily rejection formed back on the 21st of November 2023. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, I mean on a daily, based on here, yes, we do have clean candles, but we can't really ignore the fact that the daily has ranged, and this is actually a really bad range on a daily time frame within this level. So let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, again, nothing really to see apart from that level. Let's have a look on the hourly time frame. So we do have this hourly resistance, and the reason why I'm not really paying that much attention to this hourly resistance is because if we're having a decent volume on the, let's say, the past 2 days, then potentially we could see a decent push to the upside, knowing that we are seeing some sort of a momentum coming back into the market in terms of volume. So what we can do as a first target for buys, we could have it at 184.340, which in this case we are targeting a monthly resistance formed back in September 2023, we are targeting a 2 weekly rejections, and that's why it's good to pay attention to all time frames, because we don't know the price is going to reject this area again. Knowing also we come into an end of the week as well, knowing also we had 2 daily candles closing bullish, so we might see some sort of a pullback on the on Friday. And I would say the first target for buys could potentially be 184.340, targeting that monthly resistance, which also lines up with a weekly rejection. The second target for buys, now again, we have a monthly resistance, and that's actually a big range. But what we need to do is we need to find something within this range. So now dropping down to the weekly time frame, and what do we see? We see clean traffic. We see this weekly candle forming some sort of a rejection to the downside, and then we have this weekly rejection on the left. I always pay attention to the high time frame, especially the monthly, the weekly. These levels are really important. So looking at the daily time frame now, and what we can see is we have clean traffic, that recent price action all the way up to 186, 130. But again, we can't ignore this previous daily range that was forming back in that was in November 2023. Let's have a look. I apologize about this. So now what I like to do is I like to put a line to where this strong daily support that was formed back on the let's have a look. Just 1 second, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so we do have this decent daily support that was formed back on the 12th of November 2023, and that's at 184.860. Just want to make sure everything's running smoothly on this end. Okay, so yeah, so I apologize again. So we do have this daily support that was formed back on the 12th of November 2023, and this could be actually a decent target for buys again. Now, the reason why we are compromising on those targets, even though the Wednesday and Thursday daily candle been extremely bullish, is because we don't know whether price is going to form a rejection on the weekly again. Again, we are paying attention to how price has been forming. So the second target would be 184.860, targeting this previous daily support, and now to look for potential sells. And going back to the daily, clearly we can see we have this nice daily candle closing bullish, and looking at the weekly being extremely bullish. The monthly, in my opinion, because obviously it's only the 4th of January so far, and we still have so many days ahead, so a lot can happen within the rest of the month. So this might be just a push up to the upside to form a new monthly high, and then potentially price can break the low and continue bullish. Now, if this weekly candle closed strong bullish, and let's say price, okay, so if this weekly candle closed bullish, now there is a probability for price to continue bullish, and we could say, okay, so there could be a potential monthly support to be formed here, and then to retest this monthly resistance. But the one thing you want to pay attention to is how price will react. If price will retrace and close, let's say on a weekly time frame below this monthly support, because then we know that there is a probability for price to retrace and break this low, and potentially respecting this monthly support. So now to look for potential sells, and going back to the weekly is bullish. The first thing we can identify here, which is we've already put a line here, is this previous weekly support formed back on in October, end of October. And dropping down to the daily time frame, on a daily, what we can see, we have this previous daily resistance formed back on the 27th of December 2023, and dropping down to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we have the most recent 4-hour support around 181.210. But what we can see here is we have this previous 4-hour resistance on the left around 182.030. And then when dropping down to the hourly time frame, we have this previous 1 hour resistance. So you can see how we are adjusting it accordingly to, like, let's say from this previous daily support, a daily resistance. Now we're scaling it to the 4 hour previous resistance, and we can adjust it based on the hourly, the 30-minute and the 50-minute time frame. As we can see, that's the previous 30-minute resistance as well. Looking at the 50-minute time frame, we have, yeah, we do have this 50-minute resistance. I would say the first target for sells could potentially be 182, 120, targeting this previous 4 hour resistance area. Because the thing is, we have clean traffic on here, and this is actually a big range. That's roughly, I'd say roughly around 91 pip range. Now, there is a possibility that this target will not be tapped, let's say straight away. We might see price breaking below this hourly support, forming a low, and then retracing, let's say on a 50-minute time frame, forming a support here, retracing, retesting this broken hourly support, and then continue to flip bearish again and retest this previous 4 hour resistance. So we might see these kind of movements happening slowly on the low time frame. But this is actually a decent target for sells. And now to look for the second target for sells. Now, since we have this previous daily resistance formed around 181.330, dropping down to the 4 hour time frame, we have a 4 hour resistance, 4 hour previous resistance, weak resistance around 181.430, dropping down to the hourly time frame. Now we have this previous hourly resistance around 181.580. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, this is like some sort of a range on the 30-minute time frame, and more likely will be the same on the 50-minute time frame. Now, when there is a lot of volume, I don't really pay attention to the 50-minute time frame, because obviously when there is volume, price would literally just push through these levels. Now, the second target for sells, and if we have in that target, that means the daily will be tapping into this area, meaning a daily would be forming a resistance, and that would actually make sense for the monthly to start to retrace. So I would say the second target for sells could potentially be 181.580, targeting this previous 1 hour resistance. So before moving into gold, I just want to see if anyone has any questions regarding these analyses. It would be good to get some questions. So I'm just going to wait and see if anyone has any questions. Thank you. Yes, so regarding the, so you said for GJ right now, I'm waiting for another rejection before entering a sell or a breakout in a low time frame. Now the thing is, you might not see that confirmation coming now, because you can clearly see the daily candle being extremely bullish, price tapping into a previous daily resistance. So I would say probably we might see some sort of a consolidation forming during the Asian session, and that would make sense, because then you'll be looking forward to see a decent setup during the London session or the New York session. because I would say within this range, the probability of finding a decent setup, it'd be really, really difficult. So I would highly suggest to wait for price to break out of this range. Do we have any other questions? Vince, if you do have any questions, just let us know. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at gold. And okay, so looking at the monthly time frame, and then just a quick recap here. So what we can see is the monthly candle for December closing weak bullish, I'd say. A reason why we are identifying this as a weak bullish is because we have, let's just have a look. So we do have a rejection to the upside, and then we have a rejection wick to the downside. Now, since this monthly closing weak bullish, the big question is, this could be for price to retrace. If price was going to continue bullish, the only way I could see this is maybe for the January candle to retest this strong monthly resistance area that was formed around 1990s, I'd say 1990s. Because that's a decent monthly resistance. Also within this level, we've had multiple rejections. So we only had November and December closing above this rejection area. And to see a retracement of a retest of this previous monthly resistance would make sense based on a high time frame. Knowing that we've had 3 monthly candles closing bullish. Now when dropping down to the weekly time frame, and the weekly, what we can see, we've had a weekly resistance formed back on the 3rd of December 2023, and then formed, that was around 2075. Obviously price formed the new high, all-time high, and then the following weekly candle formed a support that was a weak support, and then the following one respected this weekly support, retested this weekly resistance, and now price seems to start to maybe see that rejection happening now, respecting this weekly resistance. So let's just zoom in a little bit more, and the first thing we can see is the weekly candle so far has been bearish. Now dropping down to the daily time frame, and what we can see is we have a daily resistance formed on the 28th of December 2023 around 2079-700, and we can clearly see this daily support has been retested. Now price is retracing, so maybe the Wednesday daily candle is retracing because of price respecting this daily support. And what we can see with the Thursday daily candle, it looks like the daily has just ranged, because let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame. So the 4-hour time frame, yeah, like in my opinion, this is just a range. So if you put a line to where the daily low was formed and the daily high was formed for Thursday, dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, you can clearly see weak 4-hour candles forming at this level. Let's have a look on the hourly time frame. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to identify a no trade zone first. The first thing we can see is a potential weak daily support, or even a doji candle closing. That could be due to NFP coming up tomorrow, so maybe price is just ranging prior to NFP. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see, we have this recent 4-hour support formed around 20.32.400. The most recent 4-hour resistance formed around 20.47.700. Dropping down to the hourly time frame. Now within the hourly time frame, we can easily identify a decent range to consider as a no trade zone. So we have an hourly support formed around 2039 100, and we have this hourly resistance around 2045 400. Now the question is, if we were looking for potential buys above, let's say, this hourly resistance, is this going to be a decent range? In my opinion, that's not going to be a decent range. In that case, what we're going to have to do is adjust it based on this recent hourly resistance around 2048 100, simply because price ranged within this level. So if we were looking for potential buys above the 2046, there is a higher probability for price to range within this level, knowing price ranged on the left on the hourly time frame. Also, if you were looking for buys above 2046, let's just put a line, you will be trading a 4-hour range. So ideally is to wait for price to break out of that range. So what we're going to do here is drop down again to the hourly time frame. We can just adjust this slightly. We have this hourly support around 2039, a level of resistance on the hourly time frame around 2048. Drop it down to the 30-minute time frame, and yes, we do have this 30-minute support around 2041 700. But the issue with this is, if you were looking for sells below 2041 600, your next level of target is 24-25 pip range, and in my opinion that's really not worth it, knowing the 4-hour is ranging, knowing that 4-hour rejected that area, and knowing the daily has been ranging overall. Now to identify the no trade on, I'd say potential buys could potentially be above 2048 100, above this hourly resistance. For potential sells, what we could do is look for potential sells below 2039 100, and we can allow price enough range to consolidate, because in my opinion this is a perfect range, because then at least the Asian session will range within this level. We have the London session, and then we will be heading to NFP during the New York session, and this is going to be the no trade zone. And if you do have any questions regarding the no trade zone, just go ahead and ask, because I like when we have more interaction on the live chat, just to keep us going and just to keep the live stream going longer as well. So now to look for potential buys. Now going back to the daily, actually going back to the monthly. So clearly we can see monthly's been bearish. Dropping down to the weekly time frame, the weekly candle is bearish. Now there is a probability for this weekly candle to close bearish, forming a weekly resistance, and then potentially retesting this weekly support around let's say 2000 level. Dropping down to the daily time frame, again we have this daily support. Now to start looking for targets, actually let's have a look. So the weekly, the first thing we can see, a potential weekly resistance to be formed around 2062. Not yet, because obviously the weekly candle is still open. Dropping down to the daily time frame, and on a daily what we can see is we have this daily resistance, I'd say around 2063 600. Drop it down to the 4-hour time frame, and on the 4-hour time frame now we have this previous 4-hour support around 2058 900, almost 2059. But the only, yes, we do have clean traffic on the 4-hour time frame within this candle, but we have a messy range on the 4-hour time frame on the left. So what we're going to have to do is drop down further to the hourly, the 30-minute and the 50-minute time frame, and see if we can identify anything interesting. So dropping down to the hourly again, clearly we can see we have clean traffic on the left, despite having clean traffic all the way up to this previous 1-hour support around 2058. There's something I could look into based on hourly time frame. Let's have a look again on the 30-minute time frame. Now on the 30-minute time frame, what we can see is we have a 30-minute resistance around 2045 900. Let's say 2055. Dropping down to the 50-minute time frame, it becomes a weak confirmation target. But I'd say the first target for, let's have actually again. So we can have the first target for buys at 2055, targeting this 30-minute resistance. That's actually a decent range. The only thing I would say is pay attention to how price would react once price tap into the 2050 area, because obviously we've had these 2 hourly rejections, and also that's a strong key level on the high time frame. The 2050 level, that's a psychological number. So we might see price tapping. Maybe we might see price breaking above this area and then just rejecting this rejection on the hourly time frame and then retracing and printing bearish. But other than that, if we've had a strong confirmation on the hourly time frame, let's say an hourly candle closing above this hourly resistance, now we have a higher probability for price to break above these rejections and continue bullish, knowing we have a strong confirmation on the high time frame. So I'd say the first target for buys would be 2055, targeting this 30-minute resistance. The second target for buys, now this is where not only the weekly candle started, but also this is where the monthly candle started, around 2062. Dropping down to the weekly, that could be a potential weekly resistance. Dropping down to the daily time frame, nothing really to see. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, now on the 4-hour time frame, and that's where it becomes interesting. So we do have this previous 4-hour support around 2059, and this is a small range. That's roughly around 45-46 pip range. Dropping down to the hourly time frame, and that's where we have this decent previous hourly support formed around, say, the 29th of December, and again the 2nd of January 2024. So now the question is, are we going to have a target as this potential weekly resistance to be formed here? Actually, that wouldn't be that. That would be where the weekly candle started. Or are we going to have a target? No. I apologize about this. So are we going to have a target at this previous 4-hour support, or are we going to be targeting the 4-hour resistance around 2065? In my opinion, it's better to have a decent target, especially if we know that the weekly is bearish, the daily is bearish, and the monthly is bearish. So our targets are going to be based on this previous 4-hour support around 2059-400, and we could say, let's say if there was a lot of volume, there is a potential continuation to the upside for price to retest this 4-hour resistance. So this is going to be the target for buys. If you do have any questions regarding those buy targets, then please let us know on the live chat. And now to look for potential sells, and looking at the daily now. So the daily will be closing doji bullish, for example, and the next thing we can see is, so the first thing we can see is we have this weekly support formed around 20.04.300. Dropping down to the daily time frame, zooming in, and what do we see? We have this daily support. Let's just adjust this because that's a big range. We have this daily support formed on the 21st of December 2023, around 20.31.800. That's also the 4-hour support formed at this level. That's actually a decent target because we do have a 4-hour support formed at this level and then on the left as well. And dropping down to the hourly time frame, that's a recent hourly support as well. So this seems to be a decent target. Now, I would say the first target for sells could potentially be 20, just to be on the safe side. Adjust it to where the exact level to where the 4-hour support was formed, around 20.32.600. The second target for sells, because that's also targeting a daily support formed previously, and fill in the daily wick formed on Wednesday this week. The second target for sells, now we do have this weekly support, but again, as mentioned early on, this is a big range, so we need to identify something within this level. Now dropping down to the daily time frame, and what do we see? We have this daily support formed around 2016-400. Again, this is a big range, but that doesn't mean price will retest this daily support, especially if it all depends on how the numbers for NFP comes out tomorrow. But these are decent targets on a high time frame. So if there was a lot of volume, if price continued bearish, knowing that the weekly is bearish, the monthly is bearish, there is a higher probability for price to retest this daily support, or even retest the weekly support formed at this level around 20.04.300. Now again, going back to that same price action and dropping down to, yes, we do have this daily support, but we need to see what's going on within this level, because again, this is a big range. That's roughly around 165 pip range. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see on the left here is we have this range on the 4-hour time frame where there was a lot of weak candles on the 4-hour time frame, as we like what we mean by this candle here. We have this weak candle, weak, and then we've had some spikes over in there. What we're going to do is we need to pay attention to how price played out. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put a line at 2022,600 at the most recent previous 4-hour support formed on the 19th of December 2023. Let's have a look on the hourly time frame if we can identify anything. So now on the hourly time frame, what do we see? We have this range. Now we have this previous 1-hour support around 2025,600. I would much rather adjust it to this hourly support, because that is part of the range on the 4-hour time frame. And then we're looking on the 30-minute time frame. Let's have a look on the 30-minute time frame around 2025. That's also a 30-minute support. More likely will be the same on the 50-minute time frame. As we can see, this is a really messy range on the low time frame. So I would say the second target for sells could potentially be the hourly support formed on the 19th of December 2023. That was around 400. In my opinion, these are decent targets for potential buys and sells, knowing that we come into an end of the week. Anything can happen really. So now it's all down to NFP, to be honest. But yeah, looking at this, these are going to be our targets for Friday. Now if you do have any questions, please go ahead and put them through to the live chat. So the question we have is, could you consider to a possible trade inside the no trade zone, even just a quick scalp? Like, are you talking about gold or GJ? Because if you're talking about gold, can you tell me when, like at what level are you looking to trade the no trade zone, just so I can understand a little bit more on how you're viewing this trading idea? I'm just curious, that's all. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of a delay between the chat replies and the live stream. Might be like a 10-second delay, so I do apologize when it's going a little bit quiet. It's just that I'm waiting for the answer. But yeah, if I can just know where you're looking, like are you looking for buys or sells, and then I can just go ahead and see if that's a tradable range. So like for example on 2040 900 to sell towards 2039, 2040 900 to sell. Okay, so let's just 2040. No, that is a really, nah, that's not worth it. I'll be honest with you, it's not worth it, because I wouldn't risk it. Think about it. If you're looking to sell below this hourly rejection, your target, it's so small, it's not worth it, because you don't know how prices are going to react once price tap into this hourly support. But what would be good is if you had, let's say, price closing below this level, or let's say, for example, if you were looking to trade the range, and this is something that I look at sometimes when price is ranging, or when, let's say, when the range is really big, and I'll give an example. Okay, so let's say price tapping into this hourly support, breaking below, and then retracing and closing just above 2040. Now, what I like to see is if this is going to be a big no trade zone, and if I see an hourly candle or even a 30-minute candle closing bearish, but then failing to close below this hourly support, and then the following candle forming a support, let's say the following candle forming support and closing around 2042 or something, then I could potentially consider to look for buys, knowing that a support has been formed, knowing that this hourly support has been respected. Now I could potentially see for price to, since price is failing to break below this level, maybe we're going to see a push up to the upside. So now we have an hourly support formed at this level, and your target could probably be another retest of let's say 2044, even on a 4-hour time frame. Yes, on the 4-hour looks really messy, but this is just an idea. Maybe you could say, okay, maybe price is forming a low, and maybe you're looking to retest this strong 4-hour resistance, and it's also an hourly resistance. That's the only way I sometimes look at trade, like to trade the range. But other than that, I wouldn't really say is worth it. If we didn't have these rejections, like if we didn't have this rejection on the hourly, and let's say if we just delete those rejections, if price closed below 2043, maybe you could risk and look for sells to target this hourly support. Again, your risk has to be really small, because you're not really, you have to remember that you trade in range, so you have to treat it as like an extreme risk management, knowing that you trade in range and you don't really want to be stopped out, or you don't want to be taking a loss based on your no trade zone. So that's what I would say. Do you have any other questions related to the chart? You take more trades in London or New York for you personally? To be honest, personally, I look at New York session a lot, especially after the New York Stock Exchange open. Sometimes I have noticed, you might see, let's say, price ranging during the London session. You might see price ranging during the New York session, and there is no volume at all, or there's just a range, and then all of a sudden at the London close you see a decent volume. So sometimes I look at like these are the times that I trade, but other than that, London, it's rarely I trade London. Yeah. But yeah, you're welcome, Vince. You're welcome anytime. Glad to have you here on the live stream. Any other questions, guys? I just really want to keep those live streams going, and just to let you know, these live stream they're gonna be going over 3 days, not 2 days anymore. So again, we're gonna be doing the analysis on Sunday for the start of the week, reviewing how the previous weekly candle closed, and then potentially planning for the weekly candle ahead, and then we will have another one for Tuesday late night UK, so I'd say. But like basically we're doing the analysis on Tuesday night, really late, the same time as today, but we're planning for Wednesday, and then again the same thing on Thursday around midnight, and then planning again ahead for Friday. But yeah. So the question is, do you trade before news events like NFP, or wait for the news event to happen and then look for entries after the news event? To be honest, like, I don't trade before the news, especially like, for example, like you can see how this Thursday daily candle has been ranging, for example, on gold, and that's a clear confirmation. That's just price waiting for NFP to then have a decent move. So when I see candles forming like this on Thursday, then I know there's no trade up until the NFP, because you just want to wait for a perfect setup. Because after that, if it was going to be buys, you have clean traffic on the left. Yes, we did set the targets, but you still can pay attention to how this 4-hour candle formed. This is your target, for example, and then your other target for sells is you have this daily support and a potential weekly support all the way down here. But again, this is a big range. But going back to the question, it all depends on how price is ranging. For example, if there is a really tight range, let's say we're an hour away from the news and price is forming like this on the hourly time frame, and let's say I were looking for sells below 2041, buys above 2046, more likely I will trade the news, taking impulse entries on buy stops and sell stops. But if we've already seen a move happening before the news event, and then price starts to range, then what I would do is I would probably wait for the move to happen first, and then wait for the retracement, and then take entries based on low time frame, like let's say the 5 minute or even the 1 minute time frame. But this is something that I do personally. I wouldn't recommend anyone taking trades based on the low time frame, unless if you are experienced, or you could always try it as a demo account. But yeah, it requires a lot of practice, I would say. Best time frame for entries? That's a good question. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Like, let's go on GJ real quick. So sometimes, okay, let's go back on gold. So what I would say for time frames, it all depends on how much volume there is in the market. Sometimes if there isn't a decent volume, let's say a daily range I see on gold, it goes anywhere between 100 and, let's say, 200 pips to 300 pips. So if there was just like a normal average volume, then I would wait for an hourly confirmation or a 30-minute confirmation, and then take that as a confirmation. But sometimes there is a lot of volume, so you're gonna have to lower your confirmations to maybe a 30-minute time frame or a 15-minute time frame. Sometimes I even take, confirmations based on a 5-minute time frame. The reason for that is if you're waiting, for example, let's say there is a lot of volume in the market and you're waiting for an hourly candle to close, and that hourly candle closing, let's say 70 pip candle closing bullish. Now if you were looking to have your stop loss based on the previous 30-minute candle, let me just try find an example here. That's a bit messy, but let's have a look on the left. Okay, so for example, let's say you've had this 30-minute candle closing bullish, and now you're looking to go for buys. Now I would say maybe what you could have done is look for confirmation. Okay, how do I put this together? Okay, I really do apologize. Sometimes I do visualize things in my head, but I struggle to explain them in a better way. But what I want to say is, if there is a lot of volume in the market, you want to go based on a low time frame, like let's say the 5-minute, the 15-minute time frame, because what you want to do is you want to keep your stop loss smaller. If the candle closed on a 30-minute candle, let's say closed 50 pip above your potential level of buys, for example, let's say you're looking for buys above 20.48, and then the candle closed above 20, let's say 20.52, 20.53. Now your stop loss is going to be a lot bigger. Now what you want to do is maybe try to find that confirmation based on a low time frame. Maybe wait for a 30-minute, instead of waiting for an hourly candle or a 30-minute candle, maybe wait for a 15-minute candle to close above this 15-minute resistance, and then the following candle to take an entrance, the entry, and then follow that bullish momentum. The other question that I would like to ask myself is, what would your stop loss be like? I would say it all depends on where your entry is. For example, if you were looking for, let's say if you was taking a buy above 20, let's say around 20.52, and the candle started around 20.47, or the previous candle low, or like let's say the previous candle on the 30-minute time frame formed around 20.47, maybe you want to consider for your stop loss to be around 20.50, anticipating for price to not retrace, and maybe that would make sense on a low time frame. Like let's say maybe stop loss can be based on the current 15-minute low, or maybe it could be based at the open of the 50-minute candle or the low of the 5-minute candle. It all depends on how price actions is playing out, because sometimes even though we have this as a potential buys, that doesn't mean we will definitely look for buys above 20.48. It all depends on how price is forming. It all depends on how volume is playing out, I would say. And yes, you're welcome. Yeah, because sometimes you have an hourly candle that's measuring around 80 or 100 pip range. Sometimes you have it measuring around 50 pip range. So if you just stick to like always putting stop loss based on the previous hourly candle or previous 30-minute candle or a 30-minute support, your stop loss is going to be a lot larger than normal, and then you'll start to risk a lot. So what you want to do is you want to compromise. Like for example, if you have a candle closing above 20.50, you don't want to have your stop loss all the way down here. You can still have it at 20.48. You're anticipating, because it wouldn't make sense to see a candle closing above this hourly resistance. If candle closed above hourly resistance, now your anticipation is to see a continuation to the upside. So it wouldn't make sense to see price pulling back. So what I would personally do is put a stop loss around 20.48 100, because if price is going to retrace and close back within this range, then maybe the trade idea will become invalid, because we're not really anticipating for price to retrace again and trade this no trade zone. Because if price is ranging in here, your anticipation is once price break above this hourly resistance, there is no retracement, there's just a continuation. And this is why we have a no trade zone. So that area is to allow price to range and just wait. Once price break out of this range, you're not really expecting for price to retrace. And that's how sometimes I do put my stop losses. Any other questions? Been a few 5-minute entries lately in like the last minute of the 50-minute candle. If you do mean about gold, this is a really messy range. I mean, I would not pay attention to this at all. Like, I genuinely wouldn't. The only thing you would be doing is losing sleep. You would be taking losses, and then you start to, like, let's say, you know, like you start to like revenge trading. You know, you can. This is a good confirmation. Like, literally, price action is almost telling you not to trade, because you can clearly see how the 30-minute candles are printing side by side. You can see the size of the body of the candles are a lot smaller. That's 12 pip range, that's 9 pip range. It's just too small. That's a decent one, but again, that was obviously unexpected. Okay, thanks. I've been getting sniper entries, but in a negative way. How do I manage that? I don't know if you'll understand. Like, do you mean like taking a trade, taking an entry once price break above a certain level and it starts to retrace and then you take a loss? Is that what you mean? I'll just wait for you to answer this and then we can go ahead with the answer. So if that's what you meant, like, let's say taking a sniper entry once, let's say, price break above this level, and then you take a loss as price starts to retrace, maybe you didn't wait for a confirmation, and that's why we again create a no trade zone, because you're waiting for that confirmation to come. For example, you could make, like, the perfect example that I could see your question could be is, let's say you're taking a buy as price break above this here, above 2049 within this hourly candle, and then price retrace and you're taking a loss, and then again you anticipate for that retest and you say, okay, that's it, this is the candle that's gonna push bullish, and then again the same thing happens. Like, I take buy positions, the price reverse and turns bearish, hence saying a sniper entry but in a negative way. Like, I take buy position, then price reverse, but like, what time frame are you using? Like, so okay, this is a really good question. The thing that you want to note down is the questions that we want to ask yourself is, what's the current trend on the monthly time frame? What's the current trend on a weekly? What's the current trend on a daily? These are really, really important, yeah? And look at any rejections. Now, if, for example, let's say the monthly is bullish, the weekly is bullish, the daily is bullish, the 4 hours bullish, and price is just about to break out of a 4-hour resistance to continue bullish, and I would say that's a good continuation to the upside, knowing that we're creating you know, some sort of a range for price to continue bullish. And I would say yes, that's a good confirmation, because you've checked on the high time frame to the low time frame, so your buy makes sense. If you've checked all those and like you did take all these checks and you still took a loss, that doesn't mean your analysis are incorrect. That means it just happened to be that you've taken a loss at that level. That means just a price maybe is forming a new 4-hour resistance or a new 4-hour rejection to retrace. So this is the step that I would do. But what I wouldn't do is, for example, if price is extremely bullish on the weekly, monthly, weekly, daily, the 4-hour, and then all of a sudden you see prices approaching a previous 4-hour resistance on it. Okay, I'll just give an example. So let's say you're taking your, so everything is bullish, but then you're taking sell based on knowing that we have this previous, let's say, let's say you're taking a sell knowing that price is going to tap into this previous 1-hour support, so you're anticipating for that rejection. I wouldn't really take a trade based on I wouldn't take it like this. You need to allow price to tell you what it wants to do. Like just allow it to break out of that range and then take your trade. Pay attention on the left. That's why it's important to have targets. Targets is a level to look for where you could potentially close, or maybe if a candle's just pushing straight away bullish and then tapping into this level 20.55, maybe you need to wait, because this might become a rejection, knowing that there is a previous 1-hour support on the left and everything. So I would always pay attention to what's going on the left. If you took a buy on here and then price started to reject, now there isn't really much you can do. Maybe that's just a time where you're going to see a reversal, you know. But yeah, just really look for all time frames. Your bias has to line up with the monthly, the weekly, the daily. It has to line up with these time frames. It's really, really important. And if all of these things have been checked and everything lines up with your bias, let's say everything's bullish and it was taking buys and it didn't happen, that could be because maybe there is low volume in the market, or maybe that's just not when the move is about to happen. So yes, and this is one of the things I have mentioned on GJ actually, because I've mentioned how we did see this 2 weekly rejections on the left, and these 2 weekly rejections made sense because we've had this previous monthly resistance formed back in September 2023. So my anticipation is we could potentially this weekly candle could potentially close weak bullish again. We could see another rejection, and if we did see that rejection, then I would say maybe if we see rejection, then that means, this is how I look at the high time frame. I'm anticipating to see another rejection simply because of a monthly resistance formed at this level. Now, when you look on a weekly, if this weekly candle is going to close weak bullish, meaning that it's respecting these 2 rejection weeks on the left, now that means the daily candle for Friday will be closing bearish. That means the daily candle on Friday will be closing bearish, forming daily resistance at this level. Now your anticipation is, since the daily resistance has been established at this level, maybe we're going to see a retracement for price to retest an area. Now there is multiple reasons to why you see those reversals. The first thing is monthly resistance formed back into September 2023, 2 weekly rejections, and those daily ranges on the left where we've had barely no volume at all. Now again, how can you line all this together? What do you see? The previous monthly candle for December closed strong bearish. Now this monthly candle managed to close below this recent monthly support. So that means the weekly closing weak bullish and a daily closing bearish forming daily resistance. That means the monthly is starting to retrace, and maybe we could see a break below this level and continue bearish. Now that's why I said it'll be really interesting to see how the weekly candle closes, and it'll be interesting also how price will react once we see price trading within this monthly support on the left. Yeah, so bias has to be aligned with the high time frame. Understandable, thank you. I'll take that into consideration. Yeah, honestly, like just try to take only quality trades. You know, like just be patient, even if it's just a 1-day trade. Like just go for it. If it's something that's really tempting and it's against your bias, you have to really find the reason to why you're taking that counter trend. And if you are going to take that counter trend, maybe take it with a lower risk. Because if you're going to take it with a lower risk, then that means you're still participating in the market, you're still taking a move, and it's like a paid lesson, really. You know, that's how I see it. But yeah, you're welcome anytime. You're welcome. if the 30-minute time frame is messy but the hourly is clean, would you take the trade because of the 1 hour is the high time frame stronger than? Yes, to be honest, if the 30-minute candle is messy, let's find a good example. Okay, that's actually a good question. So yes, let's say this is a 30-minute candle being messy. You see how price is tapping into 183, exactly where we put a line. Now it's retracing. Interesting, because this is just probably going to be a range area. So let's say this 30-minute time frame is messy, and the hourly time frame gives you a good confirmation for price to continue, let's say, bullish. If the hourly candle closed bullish, that is a good confirmation. You know, you can still take trade, because what's happening here is you're having an hourly candle closing above an hourly resistance and closing out of this range. I would say is, yes, you can take it based on the hourly, but the two things that you want to make sure is to not be trapped within the range, because if the 30-minute candle, if the 30-minute time frame is ranging and you have a clean traffic on the hourly, how has the last 1 hour candle closed? It has to be decent bullish. Now, this is your first confirmation to take that trade. The second confirmation for you to take the trade is make sure that there is enough volume in the market. And then thirdly, make sure you have a big range above your entry. And also make sure your stop loss, it aligns with your risk management. You know, if your stop loss is going to be huge, then maybe take half of your risk away and then just take that trade. But yeah, like I could see that happening, especially if price is ranging and then all of a sudden you have the London session opening. There's always a lot of volume around the sessions opening, so that could be a setup that you could actually take, basically. Yeah. Any other questions? I really do enjoy answering questions. It just really allow the live stream to be more interactive and more answers. You know, it's good for people to ask questions. And probably this is my 4th live stream. Usually I record breakdown analysis, but yeah. Would it be possible for you to continue live New York sessions like Sir Raja was previously doing? That's only for the king, unfortunately. Raja is obviously he's the one that taught me a lot about trading, to be honest. You know, I look up to him a lot. I've learned a lot from him, especially to be patient. It's just, I've had so much information from him. It's unbelievable. But no, not really, because obviously that's the session where Raja trades, and I'm not really ready to go for it like this. But yeah, maybe something I could consider in future, maybe a discussion with our team management. Maybe we could do something in later on, but for now it's going to be always Raja. He owns the New York live stream. And yeah, you're welcome anytime. And you know, like, I honestly highly recommend people to do daily breakdown analysis. It's extremely important to mark up a chart, like regardless whether you're gonna trade it or not. Like, it's really important to, for example, let's say now I've been doing these analyses for the past 3 years, and I do them daily. Probably people that know me from Instagram or know me from the post I post on the website on Dominion Markets, you can clearly see that I post them consistently every single session, and it really allows you to, the more you do them and you just walk away from the chart, and then you come back again at the end of the session and see how price played out based on your analysis, it does boost your confidence in taking trades. And it really allows you to understand yourself more. Like, you know, sometimes you might have like big ranges. Let's say you have a big target, for example. You might have, let's have a look on gold. Yes, technically this weekly support makes sense for price to retrace and retest this weekly support, but we know this might not be doable, you know, within just one daily candle, because this is a big range, unless if NFP numbers comes really bad. But yeah, hello Salim, do we expect the live stream on Sundays, Thursdays from next week? Many thanks. Yeah, so the live streams, actually, we're doing them 3 days instead of 2 days now. They're increasing. So they will be Sunday at the market open, so we can prepare for the week ahead. We can review the previous weekly candle, how it played out. We can talk about how the Friday daily candle closed, and we can anticipate on what we can see for the new weekly candle. That will be on Sunday around the same time as today. The next one will be Tuesday, which again we're preparing for Wednesday. So the analyses are done on Tuesday around the Asian session, so the start of the Wednesday daily candle. Because what you want to do is, the last thing you want is starting to do the analysis where the daily candle has already played out. That's the reason why I do the analysis at the start of the daily candle. So we will be starting from when the daily candle starts for Wednesday. That will be Tuesday night, and then we will be doing them again as today, the same time again, 11 p.m. GMT UK time, around 11. And again, as we can see, we are preparing for Friday. So doing them like this, it allows us to plan ahead for the full daily candle, basically. Thank you, Sir Salim, for all learnings you continue sharing to us. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. Honestly, I really enjoy doing this breakdown analysis. It's a habit. I know I have not done any during the last week of the last 10 days of those live streams, and I didn't do any during the last 10 days of December, simply because obviously it's been Christmas and a lot of people will be just connecting with their families, and there's no point to come to a live stream where hardly nobody joins. I know still now we don't have as many viewers, that's because we've literally just started. Really looking to scale those views. And yeah, the more people join, the more interaction we're going to get, the longer these live streams are going to go ahead. And to be honest, if more people are joining, if we get more requests on doing them maybe daily, then I'm more than happy to do them daily, to be honest, because I really enjoy doing them. But yeah, and you're welcome anytime. So do we have any questions? But yeah, as mentioned earlier on, it's really important to do the marking up the charts, because it really allows you to understand yourself a lot more. Because if your targets are a lot, let's say if you've had a target of the weekly support at this level and then price were nowhere near that level, then at least you know that your targets didn't really make sense, and then you question yourself, how come my targets haven't been tapped? And now the first thing is you didn't look at low time frame. There might have been some sort of a support on a low time frame, which here we have this daily support. So in order for price to retest this weekly support, if we just put a line here, price need to push through these levels. Now we have some sort of a messy daily range on a daily time frame, and for price to just break out of that range, we need to see a lot of volume. Does anyone in here do mark up their charts? If you do, just mention it on the live chat. And yeah, I just want to, I'm really interested into seeing how people mark up their charts. Anyone that trades different pairs? Okay, so it seems like we don't have any more questions. So Salim, markup mine same as your style, top-down analysis. Yeah, that's really good. Well done, Abraham. Yeah, it's really good to mark them up. Do you do them daily, or like do you consistently do them daily? If you do, then that's really good, and I'd love to see how you do them. So we have, yes, I mark up my chart every day, similar to yours. I trade gold. That's really good. It's really good to like focus on just one or two pairs, you know, like, you know, I've seen a lot of things Raja mentions around trading. It really makes sense. Like everything he says literally makes sense to the T. For example, you have one to two pairs to focus on. I mean, I'm just focusing on GJ and gold. It really allows me to understand those pairs and consistently watch how they play out in terms of when we have interest rates, when we have NFP, when we have retail sales, when we have CPI. It really allows you to understand how that pair behaves, you know, and it all makes sense. I mean, it's really good. Yes, yes, every day. That's really good, Abraham. I would actually love to see your analysis. Anyone who can send them to me or something, or just if you could actually tag us on like if you've got Instagram or something, and then if you can just put it on your story and tag the mini market, and then we can see them that way, or you can send them to me privately if you want on Instagram or something. But yeah, maybe it will be good in future. Maybe we could open a group session, like a group chat for traders to join us, and then just, you know, post your charts, and then I can review them for you, and then I can put some suggestions and stuff. I miss your daily breakdown analysis videos. Yeah, to be honest, I really enjoyed them breakdown analysis. Yes, they were like time consuming, and they were really they wasn't the easiest, I would say, because to explain something, I had to do it within 5 minutes, sometimes to the push 6 minutes. And just for you guys to know, those videos have not been edited and at all. Like literally from the start of the video to the end of the video, it's full piece of recording. And sometimes if I say something wrong, I stop that recording and I start it all over again, because I just wanted to keep it really nice and consistent. And sometimes price moves, so you want to keep it all realistic. The reason why we used to keep them short is so people can, you know, instead of watching a 20-minute video, 5 minute, you can just get the idea of what we're looking for the next daily candle, and you can just go on the day. The reason why we've stopped these pre-recorded live breakdown analysis is because we wanted to have more interaction with traders. And the good thing, sometimes, you know, I used to have a lot of questions regarding the analysis, sometimes late questions, and sometimes I don't answer them on time, and then people end up losing on not taking that potential target, or like, let's say, potential buy or sell. So the idea here is to have this live stream breakdown analysis so we can have more interaction with people, and you can ask questions, you can you know, suggest certain things, and it just feels more realistic. Because if you do have any questions regarding anything, we can always look on the chart and we can always review it. I can always explain certain things, so it really is a good way to do it, basically. Yeah, so I'm doing this chart markups daily and posting it ever since I was introduced to Raja Bank's YouTube channel, and it continuously improved me so much on my trading journey. Yeah, like honestly, like you will notice, because when you're doing it daily, you start to like understand how you do your analysis, and then you start to adjust your targets. Like sometimes, you know, you have daily ranges, and then all of a sudden you start to notice the 4-hour candle breaking out of a certain range, and then you start to anticipate, okay, so if the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday daily candle ranged, maybe the Thursday will be the breakout, but not as of yet, because you need a confirmation on the 4-hour time frame, or preferably on a 4 hour time frame, because if you did have 3 daily candles ranging, more likely the 4 hour and the hourly candle time frame will be the absolute mess on price action. So if you were looking for a breakout, you need a good confirmation on 4 hour time frame. You need to start to notice candles expanding on volume. And then you can, okay, so if we didn't have that move happening on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then that's probably going to come up on Thursday. Or if nothing happened at all, maybe the Friday will do the move. So that's how we start to anticipate these kind of moves. Yes, Salim, that's what we need. A small series focus group, Messenger, GC, or Discord group, or anything positive. To be honest, probably more likely it might be a Discord group. Something's cooking. So I cannot discuss anything as of yet, but we will be doing something like in like a group environment where people can join in and then we can talk and yeah, just in general. Live stream makes a lot of sense with regards to interaction. Many thanks, Salim. Yeah, you're welcome. Honestly, I really enjoy them because like this I get to know more people who are genuinely interested in trading. And you know, like if someone needs, you know, some detailed, you know, breakdown analysis, for example, if someone has questions and need to have like a one-to-one Zoom call, if they actually are loyal to, you know, to the live stream, and if they are the mini markets client and everything, I'm more than happy to go ahead and give them a 15-minute free, completely free. I'll give them a 15-minute Zoom call and then just go over it and talk about their trading privately, separately, where I can focus more. We can interact, you know, people can speak and stuff like that. Are you big on fundamentals, especially in relation to gold? I know a bit about fundamentals, but I wouldn't say I'm huge on fundamentals. Like I would give a huge credit to Capital Hungary, like Jeev. He's really good. Like I remember during the lockdown back in 2020, I have watched so many of his documentaries that he did put. And a lot of things that he has mentioned, it literally just unfolded. He's really good with his fundamental analysis. So if anyone is looking to focus on fundamental analysis, I would highly recommend to keep an eye on Capital Hungary, Jeev. Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, shout out to Jeev. And yes, you're welcome anytime. Do we have any questions? So I'm just going to keep the live stream going up until, let's say, within the next 10 minutes or maybe 5 minutes, and then we will wrap it up just to keep it more fun, basically. And yeah, you're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime. I mean, yeah, like I do follow in, you know, fundamentals. I do keep an eye on, like I do listen to the press conferences from the Federal Reserve. I do keep an eye on, you know, unemployment claims, employment rates, and all that, like retail sales, CPI, the FOMC meetings, anything that's high impact news. I do keep an eye, like interest rates, and they do go hand to hand. And to be honest, everything connects, you know, between fundamental and technicals. Like fundamental break out the technicals, basically. Yeah, I mean, even we're looking on the 30-minute time frame now, you can clearly see the last 30-minute candle closed weak bullish. You can see how, in order to see, for example, this is how I sometimes look at the market. If I see a 30-minute candle closing, let's say a 30-minute candle looking like this one, if you place it here, And that's when you're going to start to notice maybe there will be a volume during the Asian session. If you take this one and place it here, and let's say it just closed within this range, there is a probability for price to break out of this range. But this is a clear confirmation to know that the Asian session could be just a range. You can clearly see low volume candles, especially the way the body of the candle is closing as well. Same thing on gold as well. Hourly candles printing side by side. And actually makes sense because obviously we have NFP tomorrow, non-farm payrolls. And if for example, if price continue to range within this range, I'd say buy stop and sell stop would be really good. Really, really good. But if price break out of this range and then start to form, let's say, an hourly candle close above this hourly resistance during before the NFP, and then it starts to form a new range, and that's where I start to become a bit wary about taking an impulse entry, or let's say doing a buy stop and sell stop. Maybe I want to allow that move to happen, and then usually you see a retracement on the 1 minute time frame, and then you can see that continuation to the upside. It all depends on how price action is playing out. And if anyone who's looking for a broker, I would highly recommend you to join the mini markets. We have really, really good spreads, especially during the news we have. There's barely no slippage, to be honest. The liquidity we have, it's top notch. Okay, so I think the live stream is coming to an end for today. I hope I did answer everyone's questions. I hope everyone had a good time, and thank you guys for joining in. If you do have any questions related to trading, related to the chart, then please go ahead and put it on the chat. I'll probably, once the live stream is ended, I'm gonna just leave it running for maybe a couple of minutes or so, and then if there's no questions, then it's fine. But if there is any questions, then I would be more than happy to answer them. Is GG breaking out? Not really, no. I wouldn't say it's breaking out, and even if it's breaking out, that's not a confirmation, because you could have asked the same question when this high was formed. But what happened instead? The candle retraced and closed weak bullish. This is where you're more likely to start taking losses because you're looking to trade range. But I wouldn't say it's breaking out. And if it's breaking out, then that's completely fine, because you need to find that volume. If there is no volume, and there's no point. If this hourly candle, the way it's printing now, you can clearly see that hourly candle closed above this range, and then if this hourly candle closed above this hourly resistance, then I would say yes, that's a good confirmation to continue bullish. But that has to make sense also on the 30-minute candle. Now, the current 30-minute candle hasn't formed the bottom wick. That's actually good, knowing that we have no volume to the downside. So now it's all down to how the hourly candle closes. Once the hourly candle closes bullish, you need to allow a new hourly candle to form a bottom wick. Once it breaks the high, then I would say that's a perfect opportunity to take buys. But again, there are some instances, sometimes there are times where price doesn't form a bottom wick at all. It just literally continues bullish. Now, this is something that you want to ask yourself if you want to take an impulse or you want to wait for that confirmation. So if you take an impulse, then you might take a loss as price reject or whatever, or you might miss the buy. So it all down to how comfortable you are with the setup. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. I really do appreciate everyone joining. I do appreciate all the questions, as it leaves it keeps the live stream like alive. But yeah, thank you guys. I will see you all on Sunday. Thank you.